What's happening, everybody? We are back again with another little Soul Calibur video. Nothing groundbreaking this time. I just want to show you Haomaru's two stances, what moves there are, and what you can do with them. Nice and quick. This won't be 2 hours long, I promise. So first up, I would like to talk about bare knuckles. Haomaru can put his sword away and fight with his fists. He can enter this state manually by doing 4B+K. You can do this out of a couple of different moves with certain follow-ups, but to do it all on your own is 4B+K. The list of moves that let you cancel into this bare knuckle stance are kind of a weird set. There's nothing as obvious as you might think. They're very unusual. One of them is back running A, the rolling barrel. If you cancel this attack by pressing guard, he'll get up out of the roll without his sword, and there you are, bare knuckles. This is probably one of the harder ones to actually pull off because you need time to do the roll, and with no sword coming, you know, they're trying to take their turn. So you kind of have to be careful with that one. Back running B, the Cloud Slicer, is also kind of slow, but it's a cool move. I like using this just because it looks neat. Haomaru throws his sword up in the air and hits you, but if you hold down B, he actually grabs the sheath with his other hand, smacks you with that sheath, catches the sword, and then fights bare knuckles all at once. Kind of hard to see all that at once, but it actually looks like this in super slow motion. The next move that allows Haomaru to do this is the Cyclone Slash, 236A, the good old-fashioned fireball. You can do this move just fine as it is, but if you hold in the A button, same thing results. He ends up in bare knuckle stance. This move actually has some follow-up options. He can go right away into that and combo off it. So this has technically got a mini combo behind it, but only if you use the bare knuckle variation. The last way to do this comes out of his other stance, the Warrior's Focus, and it is BA. You hold in the A button and he results in bare knuckles. So those are the ways to get into it. They're a little bit of a weird assortment. They're not a conventional like stance cancel sort of system, but they do definitely have their uses. I think the Cloud Slicer one is probably the most efficient in my book because they kind of have to respect the normal attack, and if they see this coming slow, you know, this normal attack is kind of slow and they try to GI it, these shift into bare knuckles becomes a break attack. So that's probably one of your more go-tos. If you expect buttons, if you expect the opponent to try to sidewalk you, then don't do this. Once you're in this stance, you have a couple different options. There's not 30 different sword strikes, there's punches and kicks, and that's it. The first punch is just an A button punch. It chops at you sideways like this, and he returns to his sword. But if you hold in the A button, it stays in bare knuckle a second time, which lets you do it again, so you can continue doing this over and over. As long as you hold it, you stay in bare knuckles. That also applies to the B button attack. You keep holding B, you'll stay in bare knuckles. He just delivers a straight, hard punch and goes back into bare knuckle state. The third option is the K, which does not have a stay in option. You always come back out of it. He does that long, low slide and always returns to his sword. None of these have any fancy properties necessarily. The only thing that really changes is the sliding kick will knock them down on a counter hit. Other than that, these cause a little bit of stun, but they don't give you anything on counter hits or lethal hits or anything like that. They're pretty much just like a little mini mix-up after the situation. You know, you use the Cloud Slicer a lot, you change it up and you decide, and then you can follow up and go low, stuff like that. Another interesting option he has out of this is Blade Catch. As long as he's not holding his sword, he can press B+K and try to grab yours. Rather than trying to set the computer up to actually do this, let's just take a look at what that would actually look like. Haomaru grabs their sword, causes this sick animation, and then kicks them away from it. And goes back to using his own sword. This doesn't disarm them in any way, it's not like that. It's just a really useful maneuver. But this works on everything high and mid. That's not a kick. Anything that uses their weapon, he'll grab it and do this. And you can see it works on unblockable attacks and all that stuff. So, what that does is, if the opponent knows that you're trying to go for all of these things, if you're using, you know, the particular moves of transition, and you want to go for a mix-up, they might be able to try to stuff you or something like that. You have an option to try to bait that out. He's got one of those behind every corner, a different kind of parry to back up an opponent who wants to try and counter-poke him. So speaking of counter-poking, he also has a couple other ways to deal with stuff like that, which are evasions. He can walk forward and backwards during this stance, and he can tumble forward or backwards, and doing so takes him back out to the sword stance. So once you do the tumble, you cannot stay in bare knuckle, that's it. That tumble is only to get you an extra little bit of distance. You know, you're trying to bait them into whatever it is, and you want to get out of there real quick, boom. The other options are up and down movements, which cause him to do a jumping parry, or a jumping evade, if you press 7, 8, or 9, the upward directions. He'll just hop over lows and do this. The other one are lows. If you press 1, 2, or 3, he will duck under attacks and go back into sword stance. So he has a one-time quick evasive maneuver. He has a parry that will leave him in bare knuckle stance, and he has 3 basic options. So next up is the stance called Warrior's Focus. This is done by pressing the opposite direction B+K. You press it with 6 and he does this. That little forward lunging, which will go under high attacks. And while he's in that lunge, you press your attack and it comes out from there. The other moves that can cancel into this are a lot more conventional than they were for bare knuckles. They're all just done by holding forward. The first thing in his move list, AAA, goes right into it. Once that third A comes out, you just hold forward, he goes right into the Warrior's Focus. If you're soul charged, you have an extra follow-up, AABB. That one goes into it as well. Little Warrior's Focus there. What's interesting about that is that AAA attacks are generally not that good. The delay between the third one is very long, and then it's a high. This character has an AAB, which covers a lot of those bases. You try ducking, you're going to get blasted by that power slash. So having AAA and AAB is a pretty cool little situation in general. Once you're soul charged, that B power slash has another follow-up. That follow-up can also go into Warrior's Focus. So that's like a 4-level mind game right away if you have soul charge available. The third hit, can I duck, can I sidewalk it? Is he going to do this follow-up extension and then the mix-up that comes from it? So that's kind of interesting. A more conventional way to use this is just 6B. 6B, single hit, boom, right into Warrior's Focus, very quick. This is a nice little get-in tool. For distances out here, you throw this at him and get right in. What else do we have? Oh, sidewalk. There's 2 good sidewalking options. One of them is the headbutt. 2-2 or 8-8K results in this headbutt. And again, you just hold forward, Warrior's Focus, boom, there it is. Interesting thing about this is on counter hit, you get a follow-up for free because it causes a bunch of hits done for you. Like that. You can do the Warrior's Focus A follow-up for free. But that's it, the only one. So keep that in mind, right? This is a nice way to use that little sidewalk. Boom. You can also do it out of sidewalking A. Another interesting move because you have AA, which goes low. And you have AB, which goes mid and vertical. On top of that, you can just do a single A into Warrior's Focus. That's very, very tricky. From a sidewalking move like this, that they have to be super aware of that low, you can catch them off guard with other stuff like that. And the final one to look at is soul charged forward running B+K. This is basically the same attack as the AAB, and when you're soul charged, it has that same follow-up attack behind it. Looks like this. Whoops. Looks like this. There it is. That same heavy power slash into the stab, and then you can Warrior's Focus out of that. So that's a more practical list. They're just attacks that cancel into this. And on block, a lot of these are going to be interruptible. They're not going to give you tons of frame advantage necessarily, but they're good to work into your routine, especially being able to do this raw. You get a knockdown on somebody, you can just roll up to them with this and put them in that mix-up. It's very handy. So as for the moves that you can do out of this, first up is your A, this little double slash. Cause a little bit of spin, but nothing for free. Just nice frame advantage off of it. It is a double high. So that is a situation for them to duck if they expect that move coming out. But obviously there's a mid, and that mid is BA. What's interesting about this is that this is very easily hit confirmable. I can see the B attack land. Whoops. and then press A afterwards. No questions asked. Very easy to do. Because that A is a high, they'll duck that too. If you just get this blocked, like this, they're going to duck that high on you. Once they recognize what it is you did the stance B attack, they know a high is coming. So, you don't have to deal with that because it's very easy to land on a hit confirm. Boom. No problem. This has another built-in option where if you hold in that A, you go into bare knuckles. As we talked about this earlier, this lets you go right into that other stance, which affords you another quick little mix-up option, which you can continue to go by, you know, holding in those buttons. So a nice fun little caveat behind that move. And you can do low slide, whatever it is. It's also worth noting that there is a lethal hit combo off of this move. Once you land these power slashes like B+K attacks, once you've landed 3 of those, the A hit out of this string becomes a lethal hit. That will look like this. Because you can do it automatically in training mode. So the combo that I know how to do that works pretty well off of that kind of involves all of these, and it looks like this. So what I'm doing there is once the lethal hit connects, you have a second before you can input again. I immediately do the Cyclone Slash, 2-3-6-A, and I hold in the A, which takes me into the bare knuckle stance. And while they're still in the air, I'm pressing bare knuckle A and holding that. That little chop keeps them up in the air, and I go back to bare knuckles. From bare knuckles, you do a B, which knocks them hard into the ground and takes me back into my sword stance. And then from there, I just do B+K. You could do Crescent Moon Slash if you wanted to. You're going to get pretty much the same damage. And there's other things you could do, of course, but I found that to be pretty easy overall. I had very little trouble executing that move when I needed to. That worked pretty well once I learned how to do it. Nice combo for 83 from just catching them napping, right? All this is really doing is forcing them to duck and they get hit by the mid. At any point, if you hit them with that mid, you confirm into the lethal hit and you got them. Very, very damaging tool, very dangerous. So what ties this all together is the low. Warrior's Focus KA is a low-mid Tekken Hell Sweep type of attack. This keeps the whole thing honest. They're going to be fearful of that low. They're going to want to try to block that low, whatever it is, which opens them up to mids. This is definitely not a safe option either. All mix-ups come with some risk behind it. And you have to realize that every time they guess right, it doesn't work out for you, you know? They can block this low, and then GI, the mid that comes out of it, Haomaru himself can deflect it and all that. So it's a little bit tough. It's worth the gamble once you have them fearful of that low to open them up for mid attacks. You know, that's the name of the game when it comes to mix-ups. The last thing worth talking about is only available during Rage Explosion. Just to make a quick story, Rage Explosion is the combination of both Rage and Soul Charge. You can only do it once you have your max Rage activated, so the kanji ender's name looks like this, and then you Soul Charge and hold it in for a brief second. It is slightly different from just having Rage and Soul Charge. It is its own mode. But nonetheless, when you're in this mode, you now gain a throw out of Warrior's Focus. That does 70 damage and is untechable. So you can't get enough of that. That really starts to keep everything honest. Now they have to be really, really fearful of that option. That is a super, super damaging thing to have to deal with. You know, what is he going to do? Oh my god, he deals so much damage. Oh, I just got thrown, and now your life is over. So that's pretty much the whole set. That covers everything he can do out of these stances. Warrior's Focus is very dangerous. It's got a basic low, mid, high setup. There's the lethal hit on that mid, which doesn't take a lot. Landing 3 power slashes isn't too bad. You're going to hit people with this all the time because that's what you're going to be going for all the time. So that's a nice lethal hit. You got a good low, damaging knockdown combo to follow up to keep it honest. And you got an unblockable throw when your life is on the line. Bare Knuckles is a little less intensive, but it's just there as a different like rhythm breaker, you know? You do some fancy tricks to keep them guessing, and then once you get there, you just have a basic punch to knock them down, reset, whatever it is. So that's all I wanted to do, just go over these two stances, show you how they work and what you can do with it. As far as I know, there aren't any like strange, you know, confirms or follow-ups or weird wall tech traps or anything like that. Pretty straightforward amongst all of them. So if you do know anything like that, please leave them in the comments. I would really appreciate it. So thanks as always for tuning in. Check the social media for updates on other videos, and I will see all of you next time.